Alright, rather than going into some lengthy explanation about how doomed we are, since my audience is so well informed about how toast we are, I'm instead going to read an article written in the AP News titled, quote, "In early 2029, Earth will likely lock into breaching key warming threshold," scientists calculate, written by Seth Bornstein on October 30th, 2023. The title reads as following. In a little more than 5 years, sometime in early 2029, the Earth will likely be unable to stay below the international agreed limit for global warming if it continues to burn fossil fuels at its current rate, a new study says. The study moves 3 years closer the date when the world will eventually hit a critical climate threshold, which is an increase of 1.5 degrees Celsius since the 1800s. Beyond that temperature, the risk of the catastrophes increase as the world will likely lose most of its coral reefs, a key ice sheet could kick into irreversible melt, and water shortages, heat waves, and death from extreme weather dramatically increase, according to an earlier United Nations scientific report. Hitting that threshold will happen sooner than initially calculated because the world has made progress in cleaning up a different type of air pollution, tiny smoky particles called aerosols. Aerosols slightly cool the planet and mask the effect of burning coal, oil, and natural gas, the study's lead author says. Put another way, while cleaning up aerosol pollution is a good thing, that success means slightly faster rises in temperatures. The study in Monday's Journal of Nature Climate Change calculates what's referred to as the remaining, quote, carbon budget, which is how much fossil fuels the world can burn and still have a 50% chance of limiting warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. That is the threshold set by the 2015 Paris Agreement. The last 10 years are already 1.14 degrees Celsius hotter than the 19th century. Last year was 1.26 degrees Celsius warmer. This year is likely to blow past that, according to scientists. The new study set the carbon budget at 250 billion metric tons. The world is a little more than 40 billion metric tons a year and still rising, leaving 6 years left. But that 6 years started in January 2023, the study says. So now that's only 5 years and a couple months away. It's not that the fight against climate change will be lost after 6 years, quote, but I think if we're not already on a strong downward trajectory, it will be too late to fight for the 1.5 degree limit, said the study lead author Robin Lamble, an Imperial College of London climate scientist. A 2021 UN Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report gave a budget of 500 billion metric tons, pointed to a 2032 date for locking in 1.5 degrees, Lamble said. An update by many IPCC authors this June came up with a carbon budget the same as Lamble's team, but Lamble's analysis is more detailed, said the IPCC report co-chair and climate scientist Valerie Masson-Delmonte. The biggest change from the 2021 report to this year's study is that the new research showed bigger reductions in aerosol emissions, which come from wildfires, sea salt spray, volcanoes, and burning fossil fuels. That too led to sooty air that cools the planet a tad, covering up the bigger greenhouse gas effect. As the world cleans up its carbon emitting emissions, it is simultaneously reducing the cooling aerosols too. And the study takes that more into account, as do changes to computer simulations, Lamble said. Even though the carbon budget looks to run out in early year 2029, that doesn't mean the world will instantly hit 1.5 degrees warmer than pre-industrial times. The actual temperature could happen a bit earlier, or as much as a decade or two later. But it will happen once the budget runs out, Lamble said. People should not interpret running out of the 1.5 degree budget for the 1.5 degrees as the only time left to stop global warming, the authors said. Their study said the carbon budget with a 50% chance to keep warming below 2 degrees Celsius is 1,220 billion metric tons, which is about 30 years. Quote, "We don't want this to be interpreted as 6 years to save the planet," said co-author Christopher Smith, a University of Leeds climate scientist. Quote, "If we are able to limit warming to 1.6 degrees, or 1.65, or 1.7, that's a lot better than 2 degrees. We still need to fight for every tenth of a degree." End quote. Climate scientist Bill Hare of Climate Action Tracker, that monitors national efforts to reduce carbon emissions, said breaching the 1.5 degree limit does not push the world over a cliff at that point, but it is very much an inflection point in increasing risk of catastrophic changes, end quote, as they head into climate negotiations in Dubai next month. World leaders still say the 1.5 degree limit is still achievable. Lamble said limiting warming to 1.5 is technically possible, but politically challenging and unlikely. Quote, "We have got to the stage where the 1.5 degree carbon budget is so small that it's almost losing meaning," said climate scientist Glenn Peters of the Norwegian Cicero Climate Institute, which wasn't a part of the research. Quote, "If your face is about to slam in the wall at 100 miles per hour, it is sort of irrelevant if your nose is currently 1 or 2 millimeters from the wall. ... We are still heading in the wrong direction at 100 miles per hour. People, quote, shouldn't worry. They should act," said climate scientist Piers Forster of the University of Leeds, who wasn't part of Lamble's team. "Acting as fast as possible, quote, can halve the rate of warming this decade," end quote. And that's it, guys. Riddled with inconsistencies. Important to note that they said it could happen a little bit earlier or a decade or two later. Not confusing at all. What's this about a carbon budget? As if we still have something like that available? Not to mention, on top of all this, quote, "As the world will likely lose most of its coral reefs, a key ice sheet could kick into irreversible melt, and water shortages, heat waves, and death from extreme weather dramatically increase." As per the title of this video goes, it is quite evident that this is indeed the last stable decade on planet Earth us Homo sapiens will ever experience again. So enjoy it while you can. I'll talk to you later. See ya.